Hello, and thank you for joining our webinar about supporting your high net worth clients through a claim. My name is Jeremy Trott, and I'm the Claims Director at Ecclesiastical Insurance. I joined the company in October 2020, so I was recruited and onboarded during lockdown, which I'm sure some of you will know is a little different. I've worked in insurance for 25 years in various roles in underwriting, sales, and innovation, and for the last 9 years in claims. Since joining Ecclesiastical, it's clear to me we're totally committed to delivering both exemplary levels of customer service, specialist expertise, and technical quality to you and your high net worth clients by supporting them through what can be the daunting process of making a claim. As we know, the true test of an insurer and the policy they provide comes down to how a claim is handled. To make sure we deliver an exceptional claim service, we rely on your feedback. So please do continue to provide your suggestions to help us maintain a strong customer-focused ethos. You can get in touch with us via email or over the phone, and I'm always pleased to have a conversation directly. Today, we have two claims managers from Ecclesiastical to demonstrate how we support your clients through a claim. Firstly, Fabrice Watson, our Art and Private Clients Claims Manager, will chat about some recent trends and how the pandemic has impacted high net worth claims, how our in-house team, high net worth specialist team, and how we fit into the wider claims team, the promises that we make to you and your high net worth clients, and also how we look after your client's claim. Second, we have Andy Henner, who's our Property Technical Claims Manager, and he will chat about how we progress technical and major loss cases, and also about the hand-picked supply chain and the specialists that we work with. Fabrice, Andy, and myself will be taking your questions at the end of the session, so please feel free to submit these as we go along using the chat function. I shall pass you over to Fabrice, who will talk you through how we support you and your clients in their hour of need.
Thank you, Jeremy, and hello, everyone. I'm Fabrice Watson, the Claims Team Manager for Art and Private Client. I've been working in insurance for 20 years now, 17 of which have been spent specialising in high net worth insurance claims. What I particularly like about working in this area is that clients expect exemplary levels of customer service. Customer service is something I'm incredibly passionate about. And not only can I now impart my knowledge of over 20 years of experience, but I can also deliver that service that they expect. Claim trends over the past 12 months have been different to what we'd expect, and the pandemic has affected our customers and the claims that we've seen just as much as it has our everyday lives. I think the classic example to talk about is the escape of water. We have a leak from a header tank or we have a leak from a pipe, and it's in the property that the customer is situated at on a day-to-day basis. They discover the leak immediately, the loss is mitigated, and the damage is minimised. Now, that's very much what has happened with the pandemic. The big loss has occurred. The customer hasn't been able to have that freedom of movement. And as a consequence, they discovered the damage a lot earlier, which minimises the cost of the claim, the inconvenience to the customer, and the distress that it happens on their everyday lives. On the other hand, it's gone the other way because customers are lucky enough to own a second property, a third property, and they've not been able to visit those properties during the lockdown. So as a consequence, when they suffer that escape of water, they're not able to be at the property, they're not able to discover the loss. And sadly, by the time the loss is discovered, the damage is significant, and very often it runs into six figures, a significant claim. The other interesting thing that we've seen in the pandemic is the continuation of losses for things like the everyday, the losses of the hearing aids. But perhaps it used to be the family dog that used to chew up the hearing aid into 1,000 pieces. That's no more. It's actually now when people are putting their mask on, they're taking their mask off. They suddenly get home from the trip to the supermarket or the shop, and they realise that they've lost their hearing aid. Accidental damage claims have become more frequent. Customers are at home, they're decorating, they're also having those accidents. And one of the claims I remember was an Emile Gallet lamp, a rather nice lamp as well, which was knocked off the customer's table whilst they were working from home and answering their phone. So maybe losses that we have seen wouldn't have happened traditionally. But then the other losses that we've seen are a reduction in the accidental loss claims, family pieces such as jewellery items that are normally lost on holiday or whilst they're out of their home. I guess those losses probably are happening, but items are being lost in the home, they're subsequently found, and we've seen a reduction in those claims being notified to our offices. When lockdown came in, we were very, very pleased at how quickly we were able to adapt and move to home working. The claims team were moved immediately, and the IT infrastructure, the communications channels, it was very much business as usual. That enabled us to continue to respond to claims straight away when the claim was reported, and ensure that we could contact our specialist partners who are also adapting to the challenges faced and the implications on the claim journey. However, as you can imagine, as a result of lockdown, there were factors that had an impact on our ability to process claims. Most retailers and contractors were forced to cease operating, which had an impact on the ability to progress a number of claims. When the building trade were able to return to work, we were delighted, but we noticed immediately that it was taking a lot longer to obtain a start date. Contractors were filling their backlog from before the lockdown. They were starting jobs, they were unable to finish, they had to resume. And we noticed that rather than jobs starting in, say, 2 weeks or 3 weeks, some jobs were starting in 8 weeks and 12 weeks. Also, contractors had to think about safe working, and they had to think about having less people in areas that they were reinstating. So instead of the job taking a certain period of time, it would also be extended for that reason. Now, the negative of that is the impact that has on the customer who might be housed in an alternative accommodation. Obviously, that increases the expense on the claim, but more importantly, and something I'm very passionate about, is being mindful of the customer that's out of their home, because we want to try and reinstate as quickly as possible and get them back to some level of normality. Contractors also experienced difficulties because of material shortages, and that was there were shipping delays post-Brexit, and also escalating prices. And we noticed that that was a challenge, and in some instances had to consider different materials or increase costs in order to minimise costs and expense elsewhere on the claim. Despite all of these factors, we've been able to reduce the impact on those claims as much as possible and remain focused on keeping the broker and the customer fully updated and supporting them throughout their claim. We have had to change the way that we do things, and solutions may have taken longer than ordinary, but I'm pleased to report we've never had a backlog of claims, no issues there. And as things relax, we're confident that our supply chain will return to normal and will continue to help your clients towards a claim resolution. Putting the pandemic aside, one thing that we continue to see at the time of claim is underinsurance. It's a shame that so many years after talking about insurance, it's still something that we see. And it's always through no fault of anyone. It's just unfortunate. And it's at the time of claim that it gets discovered. And it does cause us a problem. I think if we think about Rolex, for example, a classic item, timepiece, in January 2020, they put their price up on average by 7.4% per timepiece. So if you think of a Rolex that's valued at £20,000 just 1 month earlier, then all of a sudden, 1 month later, it's potentially £1,500 underinsured. And it's alarming, and it's very difficult for customers to keep up with that. The other thing that we commonly see are items that are gifted. And I guess, inherited items, especially as well, more often than not, when a customer has an item that's inherited, it may not have been valued, or it may not necessarily been an item that they'll wear all the time. So it will just be valued in as and when they get round to valuing it. And when they do, unfortunately, lose it or misplace it, it can be incredibly expensive and catch them out to replace. One thing, if we think about gold prices, I think in the last 10 years, the price fluctuates by about 40%. So if you have a valuation which is 10 years old, just for the gold in itself, it's almost guaranteed to be 40% underinsured. And then when you factor in the gems and anything else that's significant about that piece, that will only serve to exacerbate the level of underinsurance. So it's just really, really important that, we take time at renewal, and we take time when we're talking to our customers to understand how they've got their sums insured. When were the items last valued? When were the items last looked at? And then I think hopefully when the claim is made, it will be something which is reduced as much as possible. Looking forward, it's difficult to think about what trends we might see. However, we will keep you updated with anything that comes out, and we will let you know as soon as we can. So, who are the team? At Ecclesiastical, you have access to a claims team that is dedicated to high net worth clients and their claims, and that's led by me. With the collective experience we have, it will provide you and your clients with the expertise and an understanding of the client's expectations, which helps make the process as smooth as possible. We are supported by the wider property claims team, who have been specifically trained to understand our high net worth philosophy, and they're on standby to support should that be required. and they'll ensure that a seamless continuity of service is there if it needs to be supported elsewhere. The wider claims team consists of a variety of claims professionals, including a team of specialist claims consultants who handle claims in excess of £275,000. In addition to the property team, we have a team of casualty claim handlers who specialise in the management of employers and public liability claims. We've probably all heard the saying that the claims is the shop window, and it is cliche, but it is really true, and it's something that we fully understand. We know that if we treat a client well and exceed on their expectations, that both of us will retain that customer for many, many years. Get it wrong, and they'll find another insurer. It's as simple as that. That's why we make a promise to high net worth clients from the moment they purchase a policy to the point they make the claim. The claims promise is printed in the policy booklet, and we will deliver on those promises. We understand that your high net worth client has purchased a specialist product. If somebody is flying first class, they expect something a little bit different to those that are flying in the back of the plane in economy. We're available 24 hours and 7 days a week to provide quick responses to new claims. We offer dedicated handlers, handpicked suppliers, and will make payment within 1 working day of payment being agreed. We ensure communications are clear, precise, timely, and all parties are kept well informed throughout the entirety of the claim. We work closely with you and your clients directly to look after them during a claim, to bring things to a conclusion as quickly as possible. And depending on the circumstances, having direct contact with the customer can help to expedite settlement and payment of the claim. By all means, please let us speak to your customers. We're more than happy to do that for you, and we will keep you updated and make sure you're aware of anything as soon as you need to be updated. Claims are allocated to a dedicated member of the claims team from notification through to settlement. We'll always try and settle the claim as quickly as we can, and if we can do it on the first notification call, we will do so. Alternatively, sometimes claims take a little bit longer and they can be a little bit more complex. So we'll let you know exactly what we need. And the other thing we're very aware of is the cost and expense that comes with a claim, and we do proactively issue interim payments if it's required. All client payments are issued via faster payment, which, depending on the time and the situation, will often credit to the customer's account on the same day. We've also won multiple awards for our claim service, one of which last year we won a Customer Care Award, which is great testament to how much we care about the customer. When a claim is first reported to our office, we triage the claim to identify which specialist will be assigned to the claim. We will consider the information that we will require to progress the claim and whether it can be handled in-house or whether it requires a dedicated loss adjuster. At this stage, we will contact you or the client, both, and confirm the next steps. That will be done within 1 working day, although on average, it's normally just within a couple of hours. In those instances where claims require a little bit more support and we can't handle them from our desk, we work in partnership with Crawford Loss Adjusters. Now, traditionally, site visits used to be arranged with the customer, and they would go out and visit the client and be shown around the house. Unfortunately, with the pandemic, things have had to change, and now a large proportion, if not the majority of site visits, are now being done remotely using an app. Crawford will contact the customer, they'll arrange a suitable time, and they will ask the customer to download an app where they can complete the virtual visit. And that generally lasts in the region of between 10 and 30 minutes. Crawford use an app to assist them with the virtual visit, which is a great bit of technology. The client is asked to log in during the site visit, and the loss adjuster can carry out actions such as zoom, take photographs, use the flash on the device, and add in annotations. They simply ask the client where to point the device. During the initial telephone consultation, Crawford will explain to the client how to use it and what will happen during the virtual visit. It has geolocation, which provides us with the ability to pinpoint where the user is and their device. And it also has links to Google Maps. All remote site visits are recorded with the client's permission. And using that technology, your client has the ability to upload media pre or post call, such as uploading videos, photographs, and quotes. I'd now like to introduce you to my colleague, Andy, who can talk to you a little bit about major and complex loss, our supply chain, and how we can support your clients.
Hi, I'm Andy Hanna, Property Technical Claims Manager at Ecclesiastical. I'm a lawyer with 16 years experience working with and in the insurance industry, and I've been with Ecclesiastical for over 3 years. I manage the property technical claims team, who handle complex and major loss claims in excess of £275,000. The team are experienced specialist claims consultants who are ACII qualified chartered insurers. Together, we deliver tangible benefits to your clients across major and complex property claims, with combined reserves exceeding £53 million. Our technical team have managed multi-million-pound claims involving some of the nation's best-loved cultural and heritage sites, from large country mansions to Grade 1 listed churches. We have a wide knowledge of the techniques, materials, and status of historic and listed buildings, developed over our 130 plus years, but we're equally at home restoring cutting-edge modern developments. During a claim, we attend site to offer direct assistance, including on-site funding, to ensure we fully understand your client's needs and priorities. Site visits also allow us to make quicker decisions on policy liability, as well as speeding up the initial response. Our consultants work closely with our hand-picked supply chain, including our licensed expert loss adjusters and project managers. Our team and our partners are on call to provide your clients with advice and support during or outside office hours, 365 days a year. Recognizing that every claim and every property is unique, our consultants are empowered to deliver pragmatic and effective solutions to help your clients get back on their feet as quickly as possible. Through the provision of guidance and support when your clients need it most, and on the rare occasions that things do go wrong, we step in to handle complex or sensitive complaints and facilitate face-to-face meetings where appropriate. Client situations may require specialist support, whether this be investigating the cause of a leak, the physical restoration of a cherished family heirloom, or taking a proactive approach to protecting their interests against a third-party legal liability claim. Our internal claims service is complemented by a dedicated supply chain for situations which require specific expertise or bespoke reinstatement solutions. Our supplier panel has been carefully selected following a rigorous sourcing framework and receives continuous oversight through our supplier management team to ensure only the highest level of service is delivered. We ensure that all our supplier operatives have received recent DBS certification and that these are rechecked on a regular basis. Additionally, the loss adjusters that handle your clients' claims are hand-selected from the networks available and operate under an ecclesiastical license arrangement. We aim to create strategic partnerships with our suppliers and believe that this provides an increased understanding of our ethics and culture while creating opportunities for innovation within the claims service. We're really proud of the service we provide, and more importantly, we hope that you and your clients find us helpful and approachable. Here are some client comments that we have recently received.
Thanks, Andy and Fabrice, for taking us through all of that. And thank you also for all of you for listening. We do have some time for some questions, so please do click on the Ask a Question link below, and we will get around to answer as many of these as possible. We have had a few come through already, so I think this first one probably is for you, Fabrice. You mentioned that you're happy to liaise with customers directly. Please, can you confirm the mechanics of that and how that works alongside each other to support the customer?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you very much. That's a good question. I think the first thing to emphasise is it's very much a collaborative approach. We are working together. We want to deliver the best service for the customer. And there are probably instances where we could maybe speak to the customer directly just to obtain some key points and offer them a little bit of support. But it's also mainly about triaging the claim more at notification stage. So we'll often get a claim reported, and perhaps we just need to understand whether it needs to be supported by a loss adjuster or whether it can be kept in-house. And I think that's probably the key moment, but it's very much about discussing it with the importance of the broker, ensuring that we're all clear on how we're going to discuss the claim and when we're going to keep each other updated, and then dealing with the customer directly and the broker just to deliver the best result.
Okay, great, thank you. And then another one, probably more directed at you, Andy. Obviously, massive challenges from COVID, but did you experience any challenges internally or with the supply chain as a result of the pandemic at all?
Yeah, that's another good question. I mean, I think we certainly saw that there were challenges at different stages. So I think initially when we had the lockdown back in March 2020, that was the biggest impact. And I think in terms of building contractors on site, whilst there was guidance that permitted people to go to site to work, to carry out projects, I think there was a reluctance amongst certain contractors. There was concerns around social distancing, etc. I think as that's progressed and as things started to ease, we've certainly seen a really good response from the contractors that we've worked with via, our suppliers and building repair networks, and in the wider market as well. So we've not seen any substantial delays. There have been some challenges around things like higher costs for things like scaffolding, but again, that seems to have abated to a certain extent as well. I think, as Fabrice touched on earlier, one of the really great things is that we were able to make the transition to home working as a team really smoothly. We did that in advance. We've been at home now for a period of time with office work when required, and so we've really been able to maintain that BAU service level, which has been great. And the great thing is that both customers and brokers have been understanding when there have been challenges.
Great, thank you, Andy. And then probably back to you, Fabrice, for the next one. Do you offer any additional support to brokers to develop stronger relationships and develop their staff?
Yeah, good question. Very active in terms of trying to speak to brokers as regularly as I can. Often pick up the phone to go through claims, but it's also about what goes on in the background. I'm quite keen to support brokers with training, with just technical questions. If they want to bounce claims off, they don't necessarily need to be ecclesiastical. If they just need a little bit of support, or what would you do in this, or what would you like me to help you with? I'm very happy to do that. So I think that's really the support, but it's not just a claim, so please, if you'd like to talk to me about anything or any queries you've got, give me a call, send me an email. I'm very happy to help.
Great. And I guess that probably applies to all of us in terms of Andy and I as well. If there is any support we can provide, then please do let us know. Fabrice is probably the best first contact. So and another one here, which is a good question, because whilst we were excellent, and the reason of this event is to show how good we are, things do sometimes go wrong. And one person has asked, when things do go wrong and a customer complains, can you explain how these are handled? So probably for Fabrice, is that another one for you, I think?
Yeah, no, I'm very happy to answer that, and maybe Andy might have a few comments to add as well. I think the first thing about a complaint is it's absolutely imperative to understand all the areas of contention, what precisely is needed to resolve the issue. And maybe sometimes the strategy would be, well, let's try and resolve the complaint as quickly as possible. But actually, if it means taking a little bit longer, but getting the right outcome for the customer, or at least fully explaining why you're in the position that you're in so they can understand why you've rejected their claim, for example, that's far more important to us as a business, as a team. So I think the first thing is, when we get a complaint, I like to try and speak to the customer, speak to the broker, understand how I can resolve it to everyone's satisfaction. And then internally, we also involve the consultants, and that's perhaps where Andy can elaborate in a minute. And we discuss what we want to do, how we want to approach the complaint, the strategy. And we also have a fresh pair of eyes, because you may have a claim handler, you may have me, you may not have a technical consultant. So you've got a really rounded opinion from senior people within the business about how to resolve this complaint, and we focus on complaints not going to the Financial Ombudsman Service. They take a long time to adjudicate. Customers are waiting for a long time, and ideally we want to be on absolutely sound grounds to be where we are, and have a justified customer at the end of it, or at least clear why we are where we are.
Yeah, I think that's a really, really good overview, Fabrice. And I think just to build on that slightly, yes, there is that independent verification process and checking process and peer review process that takes place internally that would come into my team, where I would ask one of my consultants to look at something. It's really, as Fabrice says, communication is key, and we will investigate a complaint and we will do the detailed work that we need to do. We don't let the Ombudsman sort it out. We do the right thing by the customer. Those complaints that do go to the FOS, which are few and far between, we have a very, very good success rate, which I think just again goes to the root of everything we do, i.e. that we treat customers fairly. But as Fabrice says, we do monitor that internally. We make sure that we work with the customer to achieve the resolution. We're not simply trying to issue a letter and move on to something else. We want to make sure it's actually being resolved and the customer's back on board. And we use that as then an opportunity to look for ways that we now need to delight that client through further stages of the claim. We don't rest on our laurels. Once it's been resolved, we'll continue to try and focus on that customer experience and that customer journey. Blips happen along the way, but the critical thing is communication, having that open conversation and getting stuck in. And we're accountable, we're visible, and and in some scenarios where that's required, we will meet customers face to face. We will have those conversations if that's necessary. So we'll work with you and your clients to understand what the best option for resolution is.
And I guess the only thing I'd add to that is obviously still being relatively new to Ecclesiastical, having only been in the business 8 or 9 months. The other thing I'd say is that I am very confident, not just in the art and private clients space, but in all of our claims areas. We actually try and find ways to pay a claim rather than try and find ways to not pay a claim. And I think that potentially is quite a refreshing approach compared to how some others handle claims. So I think very much backed up by what Andy and Fabrice have just said. So just a reminder, if you do want any questions, your sort of last opportunity, please do click on the link. And the final question that we've got at the moment is probably one for Andy, is what do you see as the pitfalls of escape of water claims, and how do you ensure a smooth customer journey for these often back to contentious claims?
Yeah, no, it's good. I think the critical thing from our perspective is speed of response. And I think that is something where, a good supply chain can really help you. But even before that, it's having, again, conversations with the customer. We may be talking about small loss that can be resolved relatively quickly, so we need to do that with minimum disruption. That's what's critical. But in larger losses, it goes the same for fire or any other large loss of that description. It's really having that open dialogue, because certain things will be more important. Certain things need to be targeted to be saved if they're contents, and if it's buildings, it's really around having a structured DR response in those initial stages, because we know that time is key. So we don't delay. We will get a DR response out to site as quickly as we can. Sometimes they even get there half an hour before the loss adjuster arrives. That's fine, because we're there to help. And then the next thing is really critically monitoring that process to make sure that we're doing things proportionately, we're drying proportionately, we're not leaving things in the building for 6 to 8 weeks when they don't need to be there. We're doing the right proportionate approach, following the best BDMA standards and other industry standards. And the critical thing, keeping the customer updated, because it can be the case in escape of water claims where you're going through the drying process that the appearance is nothing much is happening, whereas actually there's a really important bit that you need to do at the beginning of the claim, and we've got to get that right. So keeping the communication up, having those conversations, protecting precious content and assets is really what we do, and using, again, expert suppliers or the customer's own suppliers, because we've got lots of flexibility on that front to make sure that we can do our very best to restore items if we possibly can.
Thanks, Andy. Okay, it does look like that's the end of questions on the over the Q&A. So just to say thank you very much indeed again for listening in to this. Thanks to Andy and to Fabrice. And as we said earlier, any questions, comments, thoughts, we'd be delighted to hear from you. So thank you very much and have a good rest of the afternoon.